Well, welcome back to another episode of Be in Demand. And today I want to talk about, in light of the season, the gift that speaking is, both for you and your audience. And it's not just one of those gifts that you open up like under the tree and is like, oh, thanks. No, this is going to be one of those gifts that you find under the tree that you just love and you use again and again and again. So let's get on to the show. So first I want to talk about why speaking is such a gift. And you know that I am so passionate about more people using their voice, their story, and sharing with audiences, whether that's a virtual audience or it's an in-person audience, but you sharing your story. However, every day it is, because as you've heard me say again and again, and I want to reemphasize this, you do not have to have climbed Mount Everest in order to have a good story, or been and survived cancer, or sailed across the globe, around the globe, actually. You don't have to have done some of those things, although those are very, they're very inspiring stories. But your everyday struggle is what people want to hear. Your everyday solutions and how you climbed out of the valley and climbed to the peak of the mountain, is what people want to hear. They want to hear how you overcame a struggle, because there are people in the audience, they might not have the exact struggle, but they've got something very similar. And your story is that gift that they need to hear. You being that speaker in the front of the room or virtually, it gives people hope. It gives them something to remember, and people remember stories and they remember those heartfelt speakers also. So the more into your speech you get, and what I mean by that is when I say get into your speech, it's like you're reliving the moment. Your audience can't help but feel that. They can feel it, they can sense it, and they can't help but get drawn in to your story. Now, the reason why I also say it's such a gift is because people will remember your story. They'll probably forget the stat that you talked about, or the study that was, a little bit of your evidence about your topic, about the lesson that you're teaching, but it's your story, because there are more people that are in your audience who are visual learners, and so they're picturing your story. They're picturing themselves in your story. They can see it. It's like they're creating a movie in their mind, and that's what they remember. So let me share with you a couple of my clients and how speaking has really impacted their business, but also, more importantly, the audiences that they're speaking in front of. One of my clients, Belinda, who is a children's nutrition advocate in Australia, and she spoke at a women's networking group speaking on her topic, nutrition, children, and somebody from a credit union with 26 branches, approached her afterwards and said, "We need to have you come into our bank and speak." And you might be thinking, well, banking, that's financial. She speaks on children's nutrition. Where is the connection? This was a huge bump in income for this woman, for Belinda. And when you think about children's nutrition, who are working in these banks? Parents. So to be able to share with that information with parents, because at home, most of these people have children. But also, what happens when you start eating a little bit better? What will that do for your productivity? So I would say that this bank was way ahead, thinking further down the road than just, well, let's have somebody come in and speak about sales so that we can, increase our loans and other savings and letting people know, blah, blah, blah. No, they were thinking about their people. So talk about a gift. not only did Belinda, speak to that audience, but this woman who happened to be from the credit union, think about the gift, how this gift is being passed on to everyone in that credit union because she was asked to speak at all 26 branches. And I still need to follow up with her because I want to find out what happened from those 26 speaking events. Because as you know, because I keep saying speaking is the gift that keeps on giving, it's like a domino. All of those people that are at each of those branches, you never know what's going to be next. So that was Belinda. I mean, for myself, I spoke at a scrap recycling conference and it was on the business end more so. So the audience was filled with, the CEOs, the upper leadership. And at this time, I was speaking about leadership. And I had a conversation with one of the gentlemen who was the CEO of a company out in Oregon. And I said, give me your business card, your mailing address. I'll mail you a copy of my book because I didn't have any with me. And I mailed that copy to him. And about 6 months later, he sent me an email saying, I loved your book so much that I bought a copy for everyone in my company. That made me an Amazon bestseller on that day, by the way. And so that was the gift that he gave me. But I was just so pleased that, wow, like here it was, like I spoke, I gave a free book to somebody who then in turn bought a bunch of book copies. And then about 6 months later, he asked me, what would it take to bring you to Oregon to speak at my leadership conference? Because what he did one weekend a year, he would bring in all of his leadership team because I believe that he had at the time 3 or 4 different locations, brought in his leadership team for a weekend. And we talked about leadership. And we also had HR there and just talking about, there were some private sessions where it was just the leadership team. And then there were some joint sessions where we were all together. And then about 6 months later, he called me again and said, LaurieAnn, I'm on the committee for the Oregon State Recycling Conference. What's it going to take to bring you out here again? So this is what I mean. Like, it's like when I say gift, it's like a domino. You keep speaking, you keep impacting people, and each of those events, you're impacting more people and getting more referrals and more recommendations, and people are remembering you. And it just goes on and on. But here's another story that I want to share with you because I hear a lot of people say, I'm not quite sure about what my message is. And nothing will help you fine tune your message than speaking about your topic. So one of my clients, Dr. Barbara Delatour, you will be hearing from her directly because I'm bringing her on the podcast. So look out for that next month on one of my client interviews. She knew what she was talking about, but through the art of speaking at different conferences and putting her speech together and then doing some workshops, she really fine-tuned exactly who she was here to serve. But sometimes we wait at the start line. Like, I want to know exactly what this whole trail looks like before I get to the finish line. And I don't want to start until I know exactly what it's going to look like. And I'm sorry to say, it doesn't always work that way. That sometimes you have to get on that path, on that trail. If you kind of like are thinking about like as if like we're hiking together. You don't know what the trail's going to be like. You don't know what the terrain's going to be like. You don't know if like, wow, are there muddy patches? Are there rocky patches? Am I always going to be able to see the trail until you get on the trail? And when you get on the trail, you're going to come to some forks in the road. Like, wow, do we want to take this turn or this turn? And depending on what you decide is almost like where you're fine-tuning your message. You're finding what you're passionate about. So too many times, I just see people procrastinate. And really all it is like, it's a little bit of a fear. I got to be perfect. I'm afraid of being judged. I don't think I'm good enough. Like all of these different fears show up disguised as perfectionism, procrastination. I'll just wait, maybe next week. When what you need to do is to get out there and start speaking. Use your voice, share your message, and see how that impacts the audience. Nothing will help you fine tune your message more than speaking and sharing it with more people. So let's just say, for example, you want to go and do a Facebook Live and start sharing, or even on Instagram, wherever you want to start sharing your message. You'll get to like see what the audience reaction is. And that's also going to help you. Like, am I saying it clearly enough? Maybe somebody asks you a question and it just like brings up a little bit more of your thought leadership and you're fine tuning it. It is a gift to you and a gift to your audience. Speaking is the gift that keeps on giving in so many different ways. So, in light of this season of gift giving, I also want to say thank you very much for listening. I have had so much joy in bringing you some great guests and some great topics on my solo episodes week after week after week. It's been 2.5 years. We are already recording in the 190s. Not sure what actual episode number this is, but I just want to give you a heartfelt thank you. Thank you very much for your loyalty. Thank you very much for your reviews. If you haven't done a review yet, I would love it if you actually would leave a review because that helps me and it helps the show as well. Get into the hands of more people who need to hear this podcast so that they can be encouraged and inspired to start sharing their message and their stories with audiences. So I'm wishing you a blessed and wonderful holiday season. And if you are thinking more about stepping into being that speaker in 2024, I want to encourage you to book a call with me. There are several ways to work with me. And I will help you decide what's the best way to work with me, whether it's one-on-one coaching, a 3-hour intensive, or maybe one of my signature group programs. I will share with you the different ways to work with me, and you get to decide which one works best for you, what works best for your business model, for what you want to accomplish next year. So feel free to book that call because you're going to get my 2023 rates and we're going to get you in front of more people, impacting more, influencing more, and inspiring more people. So till next week, till next time, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, however you celebrate these holidays. Many blessings to you, your family, and go make some wonderful memories. Till next time, be in demand.